Brothers in Tech is a weekly podcast focused on personal and home technology, helping provide you, our fellow brothers and sisters in tech, with some information, assistance, and recommendations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brothers in Tech here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson. With me, Brian Jackson, off to my right on the video screen, or about to take up audio space on the audio version of the podcast. And go, Brian.
Take up? You mean you're going to turn yourself off, and it's my turn? Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, welcome to Brothers in Tech here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. I am your host today, and Alan, who is the sweating individual over on the other side of the screen. See, I'm sweating. I'm sweating because I worked out. You're sweating.
Oh, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're sweating because what?
Because, so our air conditioning decided to go on the fritz this afternoon. I'll have to tell you, but this is Brothers in Tech. We're going to get into some tech talk in a little bit, but I'm sorry. I just have to get this little story first. So our air conditioning stopped working earlier today. I mean, it's still running, but it's not cooling anything. So our thermostat's going up, and we're getting hotter, and it sounds like it's running fine, but nothing's happening. I go downstairs and look, and the unit on the inside's got ice and frozen over it. So I'm like, all right, we got a problem. So I got to call the AC place. Of course, my initial thought, though, when my wife came in the room and told me, hey, look, have you checked out the temperature or felt it's warm, right? My immediate thought was, I just installed a brand new thermostat, like 5 days ago.
Yeah.
And I did it with like running brand new thermostat wire and running it through the house. I'm like, did I screw something
up?
That was my initial first thought. And she's like, I'm going to go and call the AC place. I'm like, well, no, hold on. So let me just check some things first. And so I went down and checked my wiring, make sure everything was still working, make sure the thermostat was still saying it was working right and all that. And then I said, okay, yes, I have opened up the panel. There's ice inside. There's a problem. I do not feel like it was my fault. But as a tech
How
person,
confident are you feeling right now that it's not your fault?
I'm not 100%.
Well,
I
certainly wouldn't be.
Probably in the 80s or so. I mean, I'm
that's
mostly
not bad.
confident it's not my fault because we had the exact same problem with the same unit last year this time. They came out, worked on it. They couldn't quite figure out what was causing the problem. They did some fixes here and there. And they even said, look, this may happen again, and just call us if it does. So I feel pretty confident it's not my fault. But Brian, has that ever happened to you where something in your house or something's not working right and your immediate thought is it this little thing I just installed or tweaked or tried to update or something like that?
Well, it's not quite techie, but in our previous house, which you visited our previous house, during COVID, we got really bored and started doing all sorts of changes, right? As many people did. And we ended up creating a wood wall back in the back of our kitchen. We're like, oh, let's just go buy a bunch of wood paneling and we'll kind of, nail it up. Well, so we did that. And then all of a sudden electricity stopped in certain parts. And of course, I'm thinking, oh crap, did I hit a wire? Are there sparks back there? Am I getting ready to burn my house down? And so I evaded all responsibility for any of that when I called a friend.
Good job.
We ended up tearing the wall up, and luckily it was not me that did it. But yes, I thought for sure that my wife would be very upset with me, and I would be very embarrassed for a long time. But
I feel that way.
So luckily it was not me. However, you're not in the clear yet, is what you're saying.
No, I'm technically not until and already when I know these guys are going to show up, hopefully tomorrow, to work on this. And when they get down there, they're going to see that I have Frankensteined this massive wires together to make this basically the way it was when they installed the air conditioning system. This is the house that we bought about 3 years ago. It was a very old house, did not have an air conditioning system. I think I've mentioned this on the show in years past, how we do not have a smart thermostat because we don't have any wiring going up to where the thermostat would be on our wall. And when the guys installed the air conditioning system, I asked them about it, and they said, well, we weren't able to run wire to your thermostat to where a thermostat could be. So what we did is we have, I think Honeywell makes it's called an interface box that basically allows it to work wirelessly with a paired Honeywell thermostat.
Yep.
And that's the only things that will work together. So it'll work wirelessly with the air conditioning system, but it's not the kind of wireless that connects to the internet and I can control it or do anything else with it smart wise. So I was kind of upset about that. And I've kind of complained about it about every month for the last 3 years about this. So finally I just decided, you know what? I can do this. I got 50 feet spool of thermostat wire. I found a way to snake the cable up into my wall upstairs. And I disconnected that interface box and wired it to the thermostat cable and tested it out. And I'm like, this works. Like the lights came on. I got an actual new Honeywell smart thermostat that works with HomeKit and works with others. And it works, and it works great. And I turned it on and everything registers and working the AC, but that was about 6 days ago. So of course, when it goes out today, yes, that is my initial thought is I screwed something up. And there are probably wires frayed and burnt up on the floor down in the attic.
So let me ask you, does your thermostat register that something's wrong? Is it telling you, hey, there's a problem?
No, it's just if we have it set to 73 degrees to cool, and it's been hitting that and doing fine the last 6 days. But then today we look at the thermostat, it's 76, then it's 77, then it's 78. And even if we try to adjust it, it's not, the fan is running, but there's no cool air coming out. So yeah. Only thing is letting me know, I don't have any kind of warnings turned on to let me know if it gets to a certain degree to let me know. I probably should have that on.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So my question is, when you take them downstairs, are you going to claim right away that you did that? Or are you going to be like, oh my God, what happened there? Yeah. I mean,
depends. It depends on what their first reaction is. If
okay.
they say something like, what happened?
The hell is that?
Then I'm going to say, geez, I have no idea, sir.
Yeah. Who installed this?
Right. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Do you guys install this system? Like, what did you do?
What did you do?
If we get down there and they say, oh, wow, look, you got this wired up and that's great, then I'll take full responsibility.
Okay.
But I'm going to kind of guide my reaction based on their initial thing they say when they walk into my
That's
basement.
probably a good move. Yeah. I mean, I think have another thing that you're ready to talk about.
Right.
So that you get time to process what they're saying and whether or not you should jump in. And
so what I did is I went ahead and looked up, the Carolina Panthers had their first preseason scrimmage game.
Good.
I've learned the score of that game, so that way I can bring that up quickly. Like, oh wow, did you guys see the Panthers the other night? Man, they really just did not look good, did they? So I'm going to go ahead and start that conversation before they get on to me about anything I did down in the basement.
Yeah, no, I deferred accountability is something I'm really good at. So
look, we are brothers. I think that's a trait we share. I think we do a very good job about that. So it's always why blame yourself when you can blame somebody else? That's
when there's someone else there. Yeah,
there's somebody else nearby that can take responsibility.
That's right. My only question is why you called the same place that knows that they installed that previously and that you would have done something. Why not call another place where you can totally blame someone else? I mean, you can really get in the clear.
This other company, they installed this thing. I don't know what the hell they were doing.
That's right. What do you think? What do you think of those wires? And if they say like, "Oh, what the hell is that?" Be like, "Yeah, exactly."
I know.
If they think like that's genius, be like, "Well, I had to do what I could do."
I went in there and well, it's only because these guys know about the problem with this AC system.
So you're hoping
I'm hoping they can help come in and take responsibility. Because it's a problem that should have been fixed last year, and it's not. So, and I'm going to remind them about that. I called you about this exactly this time last year. Same exact thing happened. So, okay,
all right,
Brian.
Well, good luck to you. Good luck to you. In the
heat
ready to
get into our topic.
That's happening.
We want to talk about our brothers in tech topic today.
I'm excited.
So, Brian, today we're going to talk about two new apps, two new applications. and the reason we're going to focus on these two is that each of these applications have just come out recently, and we've had our chance to work, get our hands on them and experiment with them a little bit. They are applications that are trying to do something new, taking a new approach to a very standard and expected
Very common.
task that we perform on our computers. Okay. One of them is web browsing. We're going to talk about a new web browser, which is not something you hear every day. You know, it used to
No.
be years ago, there was a new web browser coming out all the time, and then they just kind of fell away, and we're left with Chrome, Safari, and what, Microsoft Edge. And that might be about it. Yeah.
Firefox, but
Firefox is still floating
Mhm.
out there, sure. But you
Yep.
don't really hear a lot about new browsers. Well, we do have one we're going to talk about in a minute. And we're also going to talk about a new app that is going to try to do something a little new with messaging across different messaging platforms. I'm kind of excited to talk about that app in a little bit. So we are going to talk about these two apps that are doing some interesting things, trying to not necessarily revolutionize, but just try to move that whole computing action forward, maybe a few steps, and do some innovative things along the way. So
Yeah.
that'd be a good conversation to get into both of these, and let's do a little show and tell and talk about our experiences with them and see if it might be something that be helpful for anybody else out there.
Yep. We once again, we have thrown ourselves on the sword and jumped into these apps for the listeners' benefit, right?
We're going to do
We're
it
doing
first
this
for
for
you
you
guys.
guys.
That way, if the app really stinks and just, corrupts your computer system or that, we'll know about it first.
Mhm.
If it does something screwy with your air conditioning system, I don't know how it would do that, but I mean, it could mess
Yep.
that up. We're the ones to take that on first. And
We are helping with your deferred accountability. So you're welcome.
So
You're
Brian,
welcome.
let's talk about the first of these two apps, and it is a browser, a web browser, and it's called Arc. So let's talk a little bit about Arc. And Brian, I can either bring up my window, or if you want to bring up your window, you tell me whichever.
Let's see. Why don't I bring up mine?
Okay.
And since I've been using it a little bit longer than you have, and then you can jump in if you've got some other things you want to do.
Sure thing.
So I'm going to bring up. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go.
This is good. This is good stuff, Brian. So here we go. All right.
Okay.
We have it
nice.
up.
Yeah, and interesting. I just noticed this, Alan. As I was sharing the screen through our system here, it believes that this is a Chrome browser. It says that it's Chrome, which So first and foremost, this is a spinoff of Chrome, or you should say it uses the Chrome infrastructure, right? So is it Chromium, Alan? Is that the name that Chromium's kind of the underpinnings? Yeah,
it does. And I was going to mention that same thing, is that it did pick up on all of the Chrome, thinking it's a Chrome browser. So yes, it is in that family for sure.
So one of the things I'll mention about that maybe is a good thing. I'm personally not a big fan of Chrome myself. I haven't used Chrome much. When I do, it's podcasts like this that we're doing where it requires Chrome. What I will say is that if you are someone who's a Chrome user, then all of your sites are going to look the same. They're all going to work the same because it does have that underlying structure to it. And Arc itself, to me, has been fairly solid so far, just like Chrome is. I mean, Chrome usually works on every site that I send it to. I just get a little frustrated with Chrome because I think it can be a memory hog sometimes. But so let me first of all kind of just give a brief overview. You're looking at a web page right now, or you're not actually looking at a website, but you're looking at a new window of the Arc browser. Mm-hmm. And one of the things you'll notice right away that is totally different than any other web browser that's out there is that it's using the left side of the screen as your navigation and your tabs rather than the top of your screen. So all of a sudden it really took a new turn, right? It's something.
So just so everybody's kind of clear, again, this is a web browser that you'd use for surfing the web, going to websites and so forth. And instead of across the top where you would normally see your bookmarks in a menu, you would see your
web address.
A lot of them have the little strip where you can now put your favorites up there and have drop downs inside those favorite menu folders. All of that's on your left-hand side now. So pros and cons on that, Brian. Is that something you're you're good
Yeah.
with? What do you think?
Well, yeah. So when it initially came out, no, I wasn't that thrilled about it because I'm so used to looking at the top, to be able to see the web address, to be able to navigate things. And then I started realizing, Alan, a lot of that stuff at the top is stuff that I don't need to see all the time, right?
Mhm.
Because I don't know about you, but I'm a big keystroke person. So I navigate websites and things without touching the mouse if I can, right? So if I want to go to a new location, I'll do Command L and start typing that new location. Or if I want a new tab, it's Command T and all of those things. So what I started noticing is that, yes, it's got these things on the left over here that are like bookmarks and current tabs, all of that together, which is the one part I would say if you try Arc out, you need to be patient and understand how tabs are a little different than bookmarks. And when things are pinned and they're not pinned, you not really know what's open and what's not open.
That's where
That's
I
the part's a
am.
little hard. Yeah.
That
Yeah. It's a
that
little
is
tricky.
honestly, been a little bit of a learning stumble for me. So I'm glad you brought that
Right.
up, because
Yep.
that is something that's tripping me up a little bit. Mhm.
Yeah. So, as you can see right now, there are three links over here on the left. I have a YouTube TV link. I have there's an article that I pinned, just to put something else up there, and then I have what's called features, which is Arc actually puts out this web page that says here's the features that you can get to. So it's a page for Arc.
Yeah.
But these are up on the top up here because they are things that I think I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I have pinned them,
Mhm.
meaning that I've used them and that they are in place to be able to use more often, but they're not necessarily all the things that are open, right? So let's just kind of start it normally. I open up a browser and I want to go to a new site. So let's just say I want to go to ESPN. All right. So I'm going to do my normal Command L, which I would normally do. And you can see what's different here is that normally on a web page, Safari, Firefox, Chrome, when you do Command L, it's saying location. You're saying, I want to go to a new location, and it highlights the web address, and you can just start typing in the web address, right? Well, if you're watching on the video here, you'll see that it came up with a kind of a floating window above that says, you can either enter in a website now. So if I wanted to enter in ESPN, I could do that, ESPN, and it fills it out just like normal browsers do at this point in time. Or I could pick from a list here of things, either the search is providing me a list, or if I back that out again, it's providing a list of things that I've been to recently. So it's saying, here's what you've been doing recently. Do you want to type in something new? So I'm going to type in ESPN. I'm going to click enter. And just like any other web browser, there it is, right? Comes up fairly snappy. And it has the ESPN, obviously, that app, which includes lots of different things, is coming up pretty cleanly, looks good. Everything's okay. Now you'll notice that when I pulled up that website on the left over here, it puts ESPN as a tab underneath the divider line. So everything above the divider line is things that I have pinned and says I always want those there. Everything below the divider line are going to be new windows that I haven't pinned yet, right? So I just visit something. So if I wanted to visit something else, I would maybe say I want to do a new tab. I've got my Command T, and let's say I want to do something else like, I don't know, Alan, USA Today. Mm-hmm. Right, you'll notice that now there's another open tab. So what you can see, if you're used to the idea of tabs, think of the underneath the line as being these are the tabs that are open, and I can click back and forth through them. Mm-hmm. And what's kind of nice is that you're seeing an inverted thing here. Normally, you see a tab at the top, and you click which tab is open. But the image itself is filling up the entire screen. What is left, which is really nice. I think it looks clean. It looks really nice.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Brian, the reason I'm a big fan of the sidebar menu structure, I mean, when you're on a iPad in landscape mode, it does exactly this. It puts on Safari, it puts it on the left-hand side. There's a reason for it, because monitors are more landscape than they are portrait size. So you're actually eating up real estate whenever you have everything across the top. You're losing top to bottom amount of content you can see. by putting things off to the side, you are maximizing your full height
Right.
of the
Yep.
page. It's actually a better layout for viewing a page in general.
Yeah.
I think the browser looks so much better having it on the sidebar.
It's
So
really, really
I like
clean.
how it looks a lot.
Well, and I'll tell you the other really nice part about it is you can easily hide the sidebar. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
using the Command S,
Mhm.
hide the sidebar, and once you. So the beauty is the way I like Arc is that if you learn the keystrokes, this can be a really, really great, clean experience, right?
Mhm.
So I was just looking at the keystrokes of what is it? Option, Command, up and down. Let's see, switch me between my
Goes
tabs.
between your tabs.
So of course, now if I don't have that sidebar up and I know that I have like 5 tabs open, I can just click through them
Yep.
and go and get to the next one, which is really nice. Or I
Nice.
can also pull
Yeah.
the sidebar back up and get to my regulars and all of that. So,
Mhm.
so in that case, I don't think you're losing anything. I think what you're losing, what you might consider losing, is initially thinking, well, where I'm looking for things, they're not there. You have to look to the left, and you have to get an understanding of the open tabs versus the favorite tabs, and how they are.
Well, correct
they're
me if I'm
located.
wrong. There's actually 3 or 4 different ways to kind of view different content on your sidebar. So
Yep.
right now you showed the tabs, which are the open windows that you have that you could tab between,
That's
just like
right.
tabs you would have in a standard browser across the top. You've got your pinned tabs, which are almost
Yep.
like your bookmarks at the top, right?
Correct. The top of the left, list
of the
here,
list,
right?
yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
But then you have another box. You have 4 icons up there across the top.
Yep.
Those are almost like that's what they're calling their like true favorites. Like those are
Those are
ones
the
you can
favorites.
put up there,
Yep.
and they become icons up there. You drag a tab that you want to keep up there in that top little button bar, and it turns it into an icon, and you can have a grid of those icons to
Yeah.
choose from.
Yep.
Okay?
So, and Alan, and I don't know if you played with that much, but the reason that that's different, or what I'm recognizing the reason that's different, one, I mean, all of your pinned links are still going to be there, right? They're going to be there regardless. So there's really no difference between pins and favorites until you recognize that favorites can actually do some interesting things, right? So I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but so I have one of my favorites up here is the my Google Calendar.
Oh yeah.
And if you see Google Calendar and I highlight over it, all of a sudden now just having my mouse over it shows me my upcoming events.
like
right?
a
It
little
shows me my
dynamic
calendar.
widget off of
Yeah.
it, yeah. Mhm.
Which is really cool. Over on the left, I have, what is this? Figma, right? Which is an image, kind of an image sharing software. And you can see that it automatically provides me with the tabs within Figma, right? So it has
Mhm.
projects within Figma. I don't think Jira and OneNote are doing anything interesting at this point.
It's going to
but-
depend on the website, kind of being able to be something that would generate some little pop-up content
Right.
for you. Right. Yeah.
Now I just realized it also can do that on the pins, right? Because this
Mhm.
is the features pin, which shows up multiple things here from Notion is what they're using as kind of their back end to be able to share information. But so anyway, I think there's lots of creative things you can do with that, right? If you have things that are favorites that are dynamic, that you're visiting a lot, that have kind of subtext to them, where just being able to highlight or put your mouse up there, you can get some drop down things. I think that's super slick, right? That's super slick,
So,
taking
yeah,
advantage
I
of
agree.
things.
Brian, have you played around with spaces on this yet?
Yeah. So let me play with spaces real quick here. I've got 2 spaces set up. So spaces for people is kind of like, do I want a workspace? Do I want a home space? Do I want a personal space? Meaning
It
when I
could be
pull it up,
different tabs or different bookmarks you have or different
Right.
favorites you have set up.
Yep.
Depending on what you're looking to do. You may have a leisure space that's just a bunch of fun bookmarks and things you would play around with in your free time. And then you could have a work one, which is all work
Right.
related projects or tabs. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you see here on this left side, right, if I take my 2-finger on the trackpad and swipe, I can go back to now my work. This is my workspace. And these are all my university login things that I know I have to use all the time.
Mhm.
Right. So if I decide I want to go to one of those, then I click that up. But at any point in time, I want to switch back to my personal space. And what I love about that is it also does the background
Yeah.
right? You can have a different background. So, you know, just by looking over there, oh, that's my
I think that's great.
personal website or web browser. And you can have multiple windows up. You can have a personal window and a work window up. And you can see the background of each, so you know which one's which. But pretty slick. Yeah.
You can do the swipe with the mouse or the cursor, or there are buttons along the bottom of the window that on the sidebar that will toggle
there you
between
go.
them. You can assign a different icon to each one. So if you're a visual person and you just want to see the icons, you can do that. But you can have multiple spaces set up and be able to toggle between those different spaces. That's different views of a web browser, kind of more customized to different environments or things you want to work in.
Yeah.
Now, that's even more different than, I mean, this thing gets pretty deep as far as the customization goes. You can even add profiles to the mix. And profiles is something that Chrome does, where if you have multiple Google accounts, you can have in Google Chrome, you can have it change your Google account, and it will change your saved passwords. It will change like your identity between different accounts you have. Well, you can actually do the same in Arc, and that's even different than just spaces. You can have different profiles, which are kind of like your saved cookies and bookmarks and history and all that for things you've done. So it's like a different person almost logging into your Arc browser, which is kind of
that's
nice as well.
That's the way you should think about it, right? Think about it like if you're in a home where you and your spouse both use the same computer, you both have an individual profile, and then you both have spaces within your profile to where you can do your work. I think it's brilliant.
I love it.
I think it's brilliant.
Yes, you could have multiple users basically accessing their profile on this browser, and inside each profile you can have multiple spaces for that person to customize their view based on what environment they're working in or what they want to see. The customization's crazy, and it is taking me a little bit to kind of get used to the bookmark versus favorites versus pinned versus profiles, that whole just understanding the hierarchy of everything. But I love how customizable it is so far.
Yeah. Let's see. So that's kind of in terms of using it as a web browser. I found that those are the things you have to figure out first, right? You have to figure out like what's a tab, what's a favorite, and how do you navigate between them. Once you get that, you can simply use Arc as a regular browser. And I have not found any downside to using it as a regular browser so far, doing it that way. What I think makes Arc really interesting is when it starts going even further and starts bringing in lots of these really cool extension opportunities, right? The ability to be able to work together on something. So if I was a web designer, I think this would be a fantastic web browser to use. Alan, have you used some of the kind of editing where you can edit some content from websites and pull and make a shared note and easels and all that sort of stuff?
Played around with a little bit. Yeah, I know there's the little sidebar. And I think we ought to dig into the sidebar, the little pop-up sidebar that comes up down in the bottom left corner.
Yep.
Because that's where you're going to find several of those functions come up.
Oh, no. So you're not talking about this. So this is one thing that's kind of nice too. I wanted to mention really quickly. I find myself actually, when I use web browsers, I'll find myself a lot of times wanting to go back to things in my history and say, oh, I visited that earlier today, but obviously it's not part of my bookmarks or whatever. What Arc does is kind of creates these libraries. It's like, these are the things that you've done recently. So you can still have these archive of web pages that you've gone to and things that you've downloaded and all of that you can get to. And that's, for me, down on the bottom left, it's just kind of a little pop-up where I can go back to an earlier page. Do you have something else you want to pull up before I get into
if you click that little button in the bottom left? Yeah. So this is what I was going to refer to.
Okay, got
these tabs here. So what you were seeing there is the media, like in that first box up there. This is a little pop-out slide tray you get that you can go to. And if you go to media, Liz, you better make sure the media is okay for us to show, Brian, because I
luckily we're good. With that. Yeah, I went after it really quickly there, and luckily it's okay.
Good. I want to make sure we're all clear. You never know with web browsing, anything can be there. There's no telling. The media tab will show you recent images you've downloaded or other media files you've downloaded. The downloads is just like a download manager off of a browser showing you files you've downloaded recently as well. But then you get down to some of these things Brian was talking about. They're kind of neat.
Yeah.
Easels and notes. So Brian, from what I can tell, and I haven't really played around with the easels or notes much, but I'm understanding it's basically you can, anytime you're on a web page, you could just choose to write a note and it becomes like a little, is the note attached to that website basically, or is it
so
access anytime?
Yeah, there's some interesting pieces here. I haven't played enough with it yet to really feel great about it. But what you can do is you can take segments of web pages and put them into notes, right? So a note could be just like a whiteboard in which you are dropping lots of things, putting notes in, sharing it with you. So I could share with you a note in which I'm dropping really cool ideas from web pages and just go ahead and very easily clicking and sharing those. And then I can add typed content and all of that. So why don't we do that, Alan? Why don't we do one of these together? Because I think that would be a very useful experience. So if I said, now you're not going to see this, I'm doing the plus down at the bottom here, and I'm going to say, what I'm going to do first, there's a bunch of ways you could do this, but if I go to the new easel, so they call it easels. So if I say I want a new easel, you'll see this becomes like a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Where I can say, Brothers in Tech notes, right? And then from that, you'll see that at the bottom, just like any other notes thing, you could add images. You can add more text here if you want to start something else, and be able to draw and say, this is what I'm working on, right? So this is the note. I could easily share it with you. So you can see that pop up. I can say anyone can edit, and I'm going to share it to you, Alan. You're not seeing the pop up here, but it's going in messages. And, oh, okay, Alan. All right, so I just shared it to you in messages, which means we haven't done this yet, but it should allow you then to pull up that same easel in Arc, and you and I can maybe edit this together. So see if it came up in your messages, or you're using, well, that could be because of our next app that we're talking about. I don't know.
The fact that it's not coming through actually hurts my demo in about 5 minutes we were going to do. So we'll see about that. Okay.
Oh, well, actually, no, sorry. It's probably on my end because it's over here spinning and saying that it's not able to send.
I was gonna say, you did hit the return button, right? So I want to make sure
I did. But I'm going to go send it in our next app just to see if it goes faster. Oh, it just went. So you should see it.
Look at there. Now, if I open it up, so what I get is, because I've still got Safari set as my default browser, it has pulled it up in Safari, but that's okay because I can still see this exact same note.
So you can see it, but probably can't edit it, right?
I cannot edit it. Now, if I were to go open it in Arc, which I'm going to do right now, I should be able to edit it. So let me bring it into Arc, and if it comes in as a URL, so basically if I go and do a new tab and I put in that URL, now I am actually seeing
look at the bottom right down there. We can actually see you're in there. Yeah, that's really cool.
I am. So if I go in here, I can change that. This is gibberish. And I can move it out of the way, and you see what I'm doing there. Perfect. So this is very much like the Freeform app that Apple released as a standalone product. However, this is built into a browser, which, all right, Brian, so tell me again, why do you think this, why is this built into a web browser?
Okay. All right. So let's get to the other part, which can allow us to see why that might be the case. So I'm going to go back now to, this is USA Today, just something that has tons of content on it, right? And now instead of an easel, I'm going to go and tell it, what am I going to do? I'm going to tell it, they call it Boost. And you say you're going to do a new Boost, right? Now, what's really interesting, you're not seeing the pop-up window that I have, but I have a little formatting window that pops up. And a couple of things that can happen here. One, I can click on the size button, and you'll see what happens. It can changes the size of the the font, right? I can also change the case, which is kind of interesting. You see it change the upper to lower case of all the content on the web browser, right? I can also change the font style. I'm changing all sorts of different font styles to be able to edit what's going on there.
And again, where are you doing this? You did this as a boost.
So I went and pulled a web page up and then said, I want to, down the plus sign at the bottom left,
Oh, I see.
I said, I want a new boost. And boost just means kind of, I want to change this I want to upgrade this web page.
I tell you what I'm going to do, Brian. Can I,
you want to show yours?
Can I share my window? Because I want people to see this. I think this is great.
Or maybe can you share the screen? Yeah. Cause I can't see the whole screen. Bring the whole screen up.
There we go. So this is this is what I've got on Arc pulled up. As you can see, this is the window Brian's talking about. So when you create a boost, Brian, you are now basically, what is it? You've told the web browser to kind of create a cached version of this page that now you can adjust and modify.
Well, and I don't know if it's really cached or it's allowing you to change all the things in which that web page HTML is telling it to do, right? So it's basically your browser saying, oh, really? You want black text? I'm going to now, change that to a different color text or something. So it's incredibly cool.
We can make the Apple website Papayas, which I think is just a crime against humanity, but there it is. It's
right.
Got it. Yep. So it's great.
And what does that mean, Alan? What is that? I can't remember what that does. Okay, Zap may change it, right? What does it say? Click elements to zap them. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So with each of those, right, it now allows you to highlight different portions of the page, which, by the way, you're going to be able to do anyway. Let's see, where can
I don't understand what I'm doing right now.
Well, okay. So what it is you're able to tweak different elements here. So when you say zap, click on it and then you see where it says zap this.
Yeah.
So you clicked on something. All right. And what did that do? Oh, he gets rid of it. That's what it is. You can get rid of certain pieces. Basically what you're doing is you're creating a new view of what you want to see. Like if you were designing a new web page, you say, oh, I want it to be just like Apple's, but I want to get rid of these things and I want it to look with this font. And then you can share it with me. And then I should be able to see your version of this page to be able to really tinker with it.
Just in the 2 minutes I was playing with this, I've made an infinitely much better version of the Apple.com website. I want you to look at this between color scheme and fonts and layout. I think I nailed it.
It's beautiful.
Apple,
it's beautiful. You're welcome.
Up at the side. You're welcome.
Okay, now I want you to do something else for me. All right, so go up to, and I don't know if we can see it or not, but if you go up to where the web address is, apple.com.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Over there. Okay, and instead of clicking on it, you to the right of it when you're up there and highlighting, actually kind of slide over there. I don't know if you clicked or if it's dropping down or not, but move your mouse a little to the right, get it out of there. Okay, click. Yeah, so now you see those two things that highlight over there. The far right one, click on that. Mm-hmm. And what that does is now that gives you the opportunity to do some cool things with this page. One of them, which I love, is where you say capture portion of the page. It's that third icon at the top.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Yep. So go ahead and do that. And now go and point to any part of the web page that you want to capture, like a, part that you want to copy. And just, copy it. And then you can, let's see, you should be able to save, maybe just copy it. Mm-hmm. And then go to the easel that you and I are working on together.
Oh, where's that easel?
That's a good question. It should be, Brothers of Tech Notes. You should see it somewhere, unless you deleted yourself from it.
Hold on, I'll get to it. Hold tight. I'll get this. Okay.
And then just paste it in there.
Oh, shoot.
Ah, Wrong way. Yeah. Well,
So
that
I need
goes
to
to show
go
you.
back.
So you can paste a link and it gives you kind of versions of that. But you can
Yeah.
also go now back to the page that you were playing with.
Right. Yeah, I've confused myself here. So sorry.
Well, and I think once you start playing on a page and boost it and all of that, I think it becomes its own easel, right? So there at the very bottom, new note down at the bottom. I think you already have it. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden you can start to copy different chunks of web pages. You can tweak it and say, hey, listen, I think we ought to do this. And you change the font for it and say, this is what I think it ought to look like.
Wow.
I don't know. If I was designing things, I mean, given the web is like the greatest, the greatest place for you to go and look for content. I mean, that would be where I go and clip lots of different things, pull them in, make different notes to share with one another. As you see on the top there, Alan did copy in a note, which is a link.
Yeah.
You copy in a link up there, which I should be able to get to. I wonder if I can get into that now. So if I go in,
is this something you can click on as a link?
I can click on it as a link, which is interesting. It actually pulls a window in front of my window of doing the exact same thing, since it's a link to the link, right? So anyway, all of this is happening within the browser, and then the browser allows sharing, which is incredibly cool to me, that the browser allows.
So there's shared notes you can take throughout the web, any website you're browsing. You can take notes and share those notes with another person.
Yep.
You can
also called easels. Yep.
You can create an easel. You have notes and you have easels, right? Easels are like your whiteboards. Notes are just text-based notes, or is it the same thing?
No, they're different. Yeah, you're right. There's notes and there's easels. Easels drawing, notes is my ideas, right? That I'm kind of listing out ideas. So, I think what Arc is trying to do, what I'm getting a sense that Arc's trying to do, is make it so that you don't have to leave the browser too often.
Yeah.
It's like where you and I create notes all the time. We share via Apple Notes. Why not share via a web page, given that that's maybe where we're spending a lot of time doing, work and all of that, right? It's getting you within one application.
Yeah.
To be
this is a pretty crazy paradigm shift for web browsing. I mean, I just the minute I started digging into the notes and easels, it was just, okay, this is a whole different mix for a web browser.
That's right.
I like it. I see the value. I'm going to have to train my brain to start using it.
Right.
That's the thing I'm having to get around. But all those boosts that you created, like there's my one update of Apple. So it's actually stored over here in your boost section. I can go back and pull it up and see my beautiful version of the Apple website that I did. Yeah. That's great. The spaces, we already talked about spaces, but here on the sidebar, you can go in and actually customize your spaces a little more finitely there if you want to. So all that's in this little side extra bar that you can just close back up, and you're back to a standard kind of web browser.
So Alan, you just showed it there for a second, but can you tell me what are your thoughts of, so when let's say you're looking at ESPN right now, and you click on another web page, just click anything else.
Sure.
And now of course I think you went to maybe a favorite, and it may be a little different. So if you went ESPN and then do maybe a Mac Rumors or something, and then now go ESPN, I know that there's a certain way in which they go layers on top of each other, right? You just showed one a minute ago where you had to X off kind of the floating window in front of the window, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know where that
when it does that. I don't sure.
I will tell you the one thing I was playing around with. Have you done this yet? Where you can take it and drag it in.
Oh, and do the split screen.
And then keep adding. So I think you can actually go 4.
That's pretty slick.
Hold on.
I've used the split. I didn't realize you could go beyond 2.
Yeah, I think you can go. Oh, see, I think I opened up a whole nother window now too. Yeah,
Well,
so I
and there's
see your
mm,
combination of tabs over here in the bottom. So there was my tab set up where I had those 3. And then if I go and do a 4th one,
let's try one more. Yep.
I know you can do 4. I remember. Yeah, there you go. There's 4. So 4 web pages you can pull out and drop side by side and scroll each one independently and view it.
Yeah,
That is pretty crazy.
it is pretty wild.
One other thing I'll point out, if you have a video
Yeah.
playing and then you start playing it, I'm just going to turn that sound down, and then I go to my notes. You're not seeing it right now, but there is there it is. There's my little window and picture in picture that pops up of the media. If you have a piece of media, sound or video playing in a tab, and you go to another tab, that picture in picture will pop up and you can actually watch it independently or close it off or grow it from there. Which again, little things that, some of the browsers will do something, but just how easy it was to just do it here was great. So
it's one of the things I've loved about Firefox. They've been doing that for a while, that you could have that video pulled out. But this allows you to do that as a default, and it just says if there's a video playing, go ahead and pull it out.
This is
some really, really slick stuff.
It is. This is a fun app. It's one I'm kind of looking forward to playing around with more, which is kind of crazy to say for a web browser, but it's true. There's enough here to kind of keep my interest for a while. The key for me is going to be, there are a few websites I use where I have to use Google Chrome to get to. There's some that actually perform better on Safari. My question is going to be, where's Arc going to fall on those?
Yeah.
Is this a browser?
For one, I'd be really surprised if the Google Chrome doesn't work
think that's going to be
exactly the same.
Yeah.
The Safari ones potentially.
I'd really like to see how universal this browser becomes. Can it satisfy all the needs I've got in one browser? Right. Are these collaborative tools that are built into the browser really something that people are going to catch on and use or not? That's going to be time will tell on that.
Yeah.
But I love the look of it. It's just, it seems quick. Of course, every new browser that comes out seems really fast, and then it gets added more and more bloat over time. So we'll see if that's the case here or not. But
I have not done a test to see what kind of load it's putting on the computer, right? Because I know that when you click between your browsers, especially the ones that are open, right? Like on yours, Alan, everything below the line, if you kind of click between those, your Brothers in Tech Notes, your Apple, your whatever, it's very snappy to go between them, which makes me think that it's working all of them at the same time, right? It's going to continue to pull for each one, which could be a problem. But I know there's a lot of people that have, tons of browser windows open all the time, or tons of tabs open. So I don't think it's much different than that. Yeah. So I think that's great.
Also hop in. I was trying to find out, we have 1Password is a service and tool I know we use to fill in our passwords on a website. And I did make sure the extension for 1Password was integrated here.
It works. Yep.
It took me a while to figure out where to go to kind of see, but it's up here in the little 3 dots, like in the far right corner of the browser windows, where you can add splits within the page, but you also have the extensions right there. So that's where your 1Password or any other extension you want to bring up comes up there. Not the most intuitive place. I wouldn't have quite picked it up if I hadn't really been exploring for it, but I know it has to go somewhere. So I was just trying to figure out where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the Arc browser. So it is.
Can I give one big negative of the browser at this point? I don't know if you've tried the iOS version.
Oh no.
So the iOS version is beautiful. I mean, it's great. You can flip through. It's a little funky navigation. Like if you're on a page, you swipe down to get rid of that page and go to another one and everything. But your spaces are there. Everything's good. Apple does not recognize it as a web browser, so you can't make it your default.
Oh,
that's a big concern right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So right now for me, Safari is still my default on iOS, even though Arc is my default on Mac OS.
Yeah.
And Arc is on my iPhone. It's on the main page. So I'm going to it to use my browsers. Because Alan, one of the things that I don't know if you saw, but if I pull up something on Arc on my phone, it shows up in my tabs with a little phone next to it. So I
Nice.
know I can do that just like Safari does, that you can kind of pull over. So it's works slick. It's just you can't make it your default browser.
Hopefully that's a temporary thing. I hope.
I hope so. I hope so.
What Brian's referring to is inside both the Mac. This has been in just some recent versions of the Mac operating system. They've allowed you to do this, where you can go into the system preferences and choose what your default browser is. And what a default browser means is when you click on a link, like in an email or in a text message, what browser does it open up by default? That is your default browser, and you set that default browser in the system. But if it's not seeing Arc as in the iOS version, the mobile version, if it's not seeing that as a web browser, it's not going to give you that option. So if you click on any link on an email or text on your iPhone, it's going to pop it up in whatever default browser you have, which will not be Arc. For people who, like me, if I plan to use this on both, I'm going to use it on both Mac and iOS because I don't like having two different browsers to keep up with for bookmarks or anything else. But I need to make sure that is the default browser on iOS. So that could be a little bit of an issue short term.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if Arc's popular enough, I mean, I can't understand the rationale of why Apple wouldn't allow it to be a browser.
Yeah. List. Well, there's something, if you go to the Arc page, they will say, we are not a browser. I mean, they'll actually even say, like, we're not a browser, we're a whatever, whatever. And so therefore we're not seen as a browser. So right now you can't be a default, that sort of thing. So I think there's some categorization, something that it does that, certainly Apple is not suggesting is kosher.
I do not like that. So they need to fix that because I'm not happy about that.
Well, yeah, it's a good experience for anybody who's interested. I don't think it's something that would be frustrating to you. I think that if you're a Chrome user, everything you go to is going to work. You may not want to switch over like I did. I switched over and made it my default after about a day because I just loved the look of it and I wanted to force myself to learn it. But yeah, definitely something cool to check out. So I hope you'll give it a run.
So we just spent about 45 minutes talking about a new web browser, which is kind of crazy, but it is pretty interesting app. So definitely one we'll keep playing with and working with. And I'm sure we'll be doing a little follow-up in the weeks to come on how it's going using it. And has this remained our default one or not as we go forward.
And you can go over your app in the next 6 minutes, right?
I have like 4.5, 5 minutes. Cause I mean, there's time for the closing and all the things in there. So that should be enough time. I can do this. We always run long. So let me jump into our other app that we wanted to showcase. And it is a app called Beeper. Okay. And Beeper is a new chat app. It is truly for chat, your iMessages and other types of chat we're going to talk about. So what makes Beeper a little different than your typical chat application? Well, let me bring up the actual window and I'll show you what we've got. So this is Beeper. Beeper looks a little bit, when you first glance at it, it does look like a kind of a typical chat message application, but there's a little
it looks a little bit like WhatsApp, maybe, kind of similar design. Mm-hmm.
But the key is what you see over here on the left-hand side. You see Beeper, you see Discord, you see Facebook Messenger, you see iMessage, you see Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. That is because this is an app that connects to all of those messaging services. Any service that has a messaging component, well, most apps that do. And you can connect your accounts on all of those and use Beeper as an all-in-one chat program. Okay. So Brian, I'll tell you, let me give you a little case study for me. People who try to message me a lot know a couple of things about me. One, I'm not very good at responding to messages in general. Okay.
Agreed.
Right. Yeah, two, if you message me on anything but iMessages, like iPhone messages or chat messages on the Mac or regular text messages, you definitely will not get me. I do not check Facebook Messenger hardly at all. I definitely don't go into LinkedIn messaging. I couldn't even tell you how to get to Instagram messages. None of this. So that's a problem because I mean, sure enough, once in a blue moon, I'll go into Facebook and actually see messages there. I'm like, oh man, I've had all these messages, and some of them are actually ones I probably should have gotten or needed to respond to. But it's the problem of having to flip between different apps to do that, or go into different services and keep that straight. So what Beeper does is when you first download Beeper and you start it up, it asks you what services you want to connect to that you have accounts with. It walks you through a setup process with each account. Some accounts are a little more complex to get connected. You have to have a code, or you got to go in and change some preferences on your other apps somewhere to do that. But once you get through this process, you now have one app that all of your messaging goes through. Okay. So if somebody sends me a message through Facebook Messenger, it will pop up just like any other text message here. I will see it. You know, these are all of my messages in one place. So I can see off to the right, it has a little icon to show me where that is originating from. All of these are iMessages. Let me see if I can get down to one. There's one that's a Slack message. I do have it connected to Slack channel that I'm on. Let's see, there's one that's an Instagram message right there. There's one that's a LinkedIn message. There's a Twitter message, LinkedIn, so Discord even. They're all in here. And basically I can go in and I can respond to any of them just like any other text message in a chat app. So here I just got a message coming through, just asking, are we on for recording on Monday? Yes, sir. 6 p.m. Eastern time. And respond back just like a chat bot, just like a regular text message. The difference is I can also go to one of the ones in another service. Let's see. Randall. Thanks, Randall. And now I've just responded to them on a LinkedIn message. Okay. But I'm doing it all from one place here. And it all functions the same. It all works the same way, which is what I love. I don't care where these are coming from. I'm responding to them just like I would an inbox on my normal messages app. To me, this is huge. I'll tell you, Brian, when I first installed this and got it connected, yeah, there were a bunch of messages that popped up that were Facebook and LinkedIn messages that I didn't see before, but they were all in one place. And I just went through and started responding to them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm now responding to all my messages in one place very, very easily, which I never could have done before. Now, there's a couple other cool things about this I want to point out. Let's see here. What was I going to show? Oh, so it gives you your own encrypted chat box, which is kind of weird, but at the very top, you see that note to self. They give you your own little chat area, what you can use to store notes and images or other things inside your chat app. So that's just available to you, but it's something, if you have some things that you typically will pull into some of your chat messages and you want to just have them in one place in your own private chat, you've got it. And any other app you're logged into on Beeper, like an iOS app, you have access to that same private chat as well. Yeah. So just imagine if there's like an image that you know you're going to be sending to a lot of different people, and you don't want to keep dragging it from your desktop or copying it from another place. Put it in the private chat, and then you just copy and paste it from there while you're in the app and not have to worry about it, which is kind of nice.
Well, let's not pretend like we all haven't done that before to text ourselves a note, right? And say, like, I just need to remember this, right? Or I need this image and I want to make sure I have it. Yep.
That's right.
So that's what it's doing, but it's allowing it to be within your same world, but not on your text string, right?
That's right.
That you particularly do.
Great. If I go over here and actually click on any of the actual services, I can see just the messages from that service, which kind of makes sense. You expect that to be the case there. Right.
Super slick.
The blue highlight is basically an indication that you have not read it yet, just like an unread message. Just like a good chat box, you can go back and change something to say, make it unread, and it will keep that blue highlight to it. If I do that for this one, mark it as unread, then it shows up with a little blue icon for LinkedIn. Let me know that that's an unread message for me. I start a new chat just right here from the right-hand side. I can start a new chat. I can type in the people's names. I mean, it's got access to my contacts. It's got access to all my names. I can pull those in. I can start a new group chat, or I can just search for different people to send a message to. There was a couple other things I was going to mention on the settings itself. Yeah, so they have a thing called different rooms where you can kind of create like your own chat room that you could actually invite people to be a part of as well. Like you have the option of creating a new room. They give you a few, like there is a Beeper community that if I wanted to join that community, it creates it as another chat opportunity on my sidebar. And I can go in and actually I'm in a group chat with other people in that Beeper community, for example, and I can go and ask questions or they can respond to me, and it just feeds it into my inbox just like any other message coming in. But if I want to go to my own new room, I could do that, that's invite people to it.
So if you created a room for Brothers in Tech, and we told people that if they listened to this podcast, they could go and join the Brothers in Tech, you can make it, I'm assuming you can make it a public. Yep. You can make it public. Nice.
Yeah.
And then it would show up as something if someone went to do a search and said, I want to join a room. They see Brothers in Tech, they click to join. Then their chats come into the that discussion, right?
That's right.
It's fantastic. I love it.
So some little things like that are really nice. There was something else that was going to mention. You can bookmark different chats. So, if you have some chats you just want to kind of highlight and keep in a special space, you can bookmark them, you can archive them and still have them stored, but just not taking up room in your inbox.
And Alan, something I know something I know you haven't done yet, but I know you're going to do. If you'll right click on my name and then favorite it.
Actually, I was going to showcase the low priority box. So I can actually take it and make it low priority, which means, what? Don't worry about notifying me about this. I don't need to really remember it too much. So, or mute
when I get enough time. Yeah.
I could do either one of those. Yeah. With that.
But people that are iMessage fans, if you do the favorite, I do love how it puts my icon up at the very top and makes it one of, just like iMessage does, where you have your favorites that join to the very top up there, and you can always kind of click on them. Yep. Yeah. I love that. So
I just, I am very, very happy with this so far.
Okay. Give me you've got to have some things that pop out as being not great.
Okay. Well, look, and this is no knock on the developers or anything. This is a fairly new app. It's a very, there's been a lot of updates, and actually if I go in, there is a Beeper discussion channel that you're automatically subscribed to when you start this up. And on the Beeper updates, they've already been, like, even today, if you look at the messages, Facebook and Instagram connections are currently down. Sorry about that. We'll post the all clear when things are working again. And we're back, about an hour and a half later. All I'm trying to say with this is it's still a very much a app that's kind of finishing development. They're still working out some kinks and bugs. You do get automatically looped into these Beeper updates, and in the 3 or 4 days I've been using it, there have been quite a few number of updates and patches and things they've been announcing. So look, it is still under development. That's one thing about it. Two, the other thing I'll mention is that right now it's free. It is a free app. However, I think it's going to become a paid app. I think it's going to become a paid app. Because I even think we know, Brian, when we had our discussion about Missive, the email client I use, and the goal that we had for it to actually be able to bring in Twitter messages into Missive, we were actually told by the developer that, well, the reason we can is because there's a huge fee you have to pay to tap into the Twitter API that we have to pass along. Well, right now they're tapping into Twitter here with this Beeper app. So there's got to be a fee involved at some point. I haven't seen it. My assumption is going to be is that they're going to make everybody really love this app. And then it's going to be, okay, well, by the way, now it's going to be X number of dollars per month to use it. So I just want to tell everybody, fair warning. Yeah, it's free right now. You do have to have an invite. You do have to get a code as of today, whether or not they open it up to the whole public here soon or not. But if you're interested in trying out Beeper and you're listening to this podcast, you can certainly drop us a note. We'll give you an email address here in a minute and how to do that. And I'll be happy to send you a referral code on that you could use to try it out.
And just on that note, Alan, people may not know why they do that, why certain apps do the invite only, or they only hand out a certain number of accounts, right? And just realize that this is because it's new. And if they allowed everybody to come in, it would get overloaded. They wouldn't be able to support it. They wouldn't be able to handle all the issues. And they know that if you got invited, if you got an invite, you also know, I need to be aware this is still somewhat beta. It's not beta, but it is kind of beta, right? It's like they're saying, well, we're ramping up, right? And we want you to be patient, but we also want you to use it and give us feedback. So
they would rather have, 10,000 people come in, bang on it and let them find all the bugs than to have, 500,000 people come in all of a sudden and have some issues to deal with. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I signed up, when I tried to sign up, it said you're number 18,405 in line. Do you have a referral code? And you gave me a referral, so I was able to get in. But so there's people waiting to try it. Now, is it all inclusive? No, and I'm hoping it continued to expand. I mean, you and I use Asana quite a bit. I would love for Asana to become part of this, where you can see messages from that. I'd love Teams to be part of this, Microsoft Teams. I would love for, let's see, what other areas do I tend to use with messages? Maybe it right now. WhatsApp, messages, Messenger, WhatsApp, Twitter. I have LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn on there already. I have LinkedIn, Messenger, and messages and WhatsApp. Those are the four things that I have on there right now, because the only four things that support that I use.
For me, the only one that's missing is Asana.
Asana would be great.
That would be awesome. But outside of that, I don't use Teams for any kind of messaging, but it would be nice, I'm sure, to have that in there. I'm shocked that Twitter's there. I'm shocked that both Instagram and Facebook. I'm shocked that Slack is integrated into it. So all of those, I was really surprised about when they rolled this out. I honestly thought this was just going to be iMessages and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. That was the ones I kind of expected when I heard about this. All the other services that are available now are pretty good, pretty impressive, and almost comprehensive with everybody. So right now, Brian, this app has now taken over the Messages app spot on my iPhone home screen.
I
feel confident enough with it to do that. And I've also removed from my overall icon screens on my phone the Facebook Messenger app. And there was one other I removed. But regardless, I'm all for anytime an app can allow me to remove other apps from my phone or computer. I'm very happy about that. So, so far, so good.
Yeah. And people are probably wondering, if you click on an iMessage, you do have the ability to like something. You do have the ability to do things just like you do before. You're not going to get memojis and things like that.
No, and you're not going to get.
You just want to communicate,
fireworks and little confetti falling, little effects there. You're not. So look, if you're really into,
do you see them, Alan? Do you see them?
I don't know. Nobody ever sends me one like that, so I don't know.
Well, let me send you one while you're talking. Go ahead and you keep talking, and I'll send you something.
But you do have everything else. You have all the little thumbs up, thumbs down, other ones you can use, the basic ones you need. Let's see if I go look at settings. Yeah. You're sending me something?
I am.
Okay. All right. So it says PAL.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. So effects are not going to come through, which is okay by me. Perfectly okay by me. Yeah.
I am okay.
But I'm assuming you do see.
You're gonna lose some of the cool little features you got in Messages. But look, I'll trade that any day of the week for uniform messaging across all platforms. So that to me is a huge deal.
So what about notices though of someone that does like your message? So scroll up a little bit. Did you see anything just now when I liked a previous message that You said yes. Sorry, you're hopping on now. So
Nope.
yeah. So
Now,
that's one issue.
I've gotten messages where people say, see, like there, I saw a reaction on one that somebody posted. So I don't know why the one from you didn't show up.
Oh, well, let's try it again.
Well, look,
It
and
actually
you,
didn't show up.
when I gave you a referral there,
There
it
you
is.
go. There it shows.
Just showed
Yep.
up reaction.
Yeah.
So you do get those reactions, which is fine. So
yeah. No, and I think that's important, because if that's the way people communicate, they need to know that they're not going to lose that.
Sure.
I think that's big. Oh, and I did love the fact that you could schedule things to be sent later.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was great. Yeah, I thought that was a great addition.
Yeah, let me see about where test message, and then there's the little clock symbol. I could say choose a time to send it. So if you really want a text message to show up for somebody at a certain time, or you don't want to send it too early, you can schedule it out there for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, a couple little really nice things. It's got, you can do your little animated GIFs. You can still search and find those out. You need to.
Okay.
You got some of those you can play with. Typical emojis, you get your standard emojis, the memojis that iMessage does. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to tap into those, but again, all fine. Sending files just like you could. I mean, I've been pretty impressed.
So let's try to summarize this, Alan. So why would someone do this? If you are someone that has multiple ways in which you communicate with people, and you don't mind those being in the same mindset. And I think that's for me, right? It's like when I communicate with someone on Messenger, I am still sending them the exact same information I would send them if they text me.
Yep.
I don't think about them differently. I don't think about one being like, oh, I do things informally here and I do things formally. No, I send them, they're just messaging ways of communicating. And so for me, if I message you on LinkedIn and that's where I know you from, you're still getting a message or /email. Now, do I wish this would also tie into email? Of course, that's our dream, right? You and I both talked about our dream is a app that had emails and text all coming into saying, this is what's most recent. How do you want to respond to it? I would love that. But
yeah, I think that's a whole nother topic of conversation if that ever comes around, because I do think even though you were just saying, and I agree with you, how I respond to a text message on messages versus a Facebook message versus a Slack message. Yes, it's all going to be the same for me. So I love having it in one place.
Yeah.
I will say messages or chat messages versus emails, I do treat differently. Yeah. So I'm all for them being in one place, but I do think they need to be handled a different way in that one place. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have the same tools.
And I'm okay with handling them different ways. So like if I clicked on something that came from email, I would want a signature added to it, right? Like I have with an email, right? But that seems like that's incredibly doable.
It should be a pretty easy way to have an app and say, here's all the connected chat networks you're a part of, and you can like organize those chats, and you have an option. Do you want a unified inbox with all your chats and your emails in one place?
Yeah.
When you respond all your communications, to an email, it's going to be in an email format. When you create a new one, you have a button. Do you create a new email or are you creating a new chat? And then you type in the people and you send it to them.
Yep. I think it's doable.
There. I think there's something there. This is right now, Brian, between Missive and Beeper, my communication apps right now. I'm very happy with the two I've got. Could they be even better if they were together? Sure. But right now I'm pretty happy with what we've got here. And we're seeing in this. So yeah, that is Beeper. I'm a fan so far. Granted, I am 4 days in. So this is one of those, I think in probably 2-3 weeks, do you want to do a revisit on? Because I am kind of forced myself to use this as my default chat app right now. Yeah. And so far it hasn't let me down. It has been really solid. The mobile version is just as functional as the desktop. Everything stays completely in sync. It's been really, really solid.
Well, I think that's a good point. I mean, you're 4 days in and, it took you 6 days to screw up your AC unit. So I think give it another couple of days to see if you really mess this thing up.
See this get messed up for sure.
Right.
But this is where I am. And I'm really happy. So that's Beeper. If you go to, I think the website is
It's beeper.com.
Is it beeper.com, right?
It is. Yes.
You can
Beeper.com.
go in and try to get started if you want to try this out, but you are going to get thrown into a wait list. Again, here in a minute, we'll be giving our contact information with email address. I know with all the listeners we've got, Brian, it may be a deluge of people that come in asking for a code that I'm offering to give one to. I'm willing to take that risk with our large audience and parse through all of the emails we're going to get in the next 24 hours and figure out how I'm going to send those invite codes to everybody. But if somebody is listening and does want one, we're going to make sure you have a way to get that, because I'd love for other people to try this app out and use it. So
no, it's great. Yeah. I love it.
That is Beeper. Let me go ahead.
See, this to me is what I get excited about. I get excited about things that we have gotten so ingrained in doing in one way, for someone to come and actually rethink something and reinvent it. And that's why you and I got excited about Spark email for a long time. And then you got excited about Missive. And email is something that people don't think about could be done better because it's a standard thing. But I love it. I just love rethinking.
This is to me more exciting than Missive was. Missive, I'm still loving as an email client. Missive did not do anything unique. Or
it just did everything. It just everything you wanted
to do all of the things I need an email program to do.
Right.
This Beeper and then Arc even are doing things that are moving the platforms further and adding more capabilities. And again, if I can remove other apps from my ecosystem and just focus on one, that's a win for me. Just letting us reinvent the way we think about messaging, or on the Arc browser, the way we think about web browsing. Those are the things that are exciting. So I truly do get excited. But having both of those kind of hit in the last week have been really fun. So I intend to keep playing with both of those a lot. So
super cool. Yeah.
All right, Brian. Well, that's the two apps we want to kind of explore. We went a little long. Shock.
Surprise.
But we do get excited talking about these new apps and new opportunities here. Brian, if anybody's listening though, and either they've tried out the Arc web browser and they want to comment on that, or they're interested in trying out Beeper, but they'd like for us to give them a referral code, how can somebody reach out to us and talk to us about either of these apps?
Yeah, send us an email at info@themesh.tv, info@themesh.tv.
Yep.
And yes, we'd be happy to share with you an invite for Beeper if you're interested. But I strongly advise or urge people to give Arc a try. It's I think the more people that get involved in it, the more it can develop. They seem to be super excited about putting new features in. So let's get them some props. So
and just to reiterate, Arc is free.
Yes.
I don't see it'll be a paid model. I mean, web browsers are typically not.
Maybe with some of the back end things, shareable things, but certainly I don't expect the browser itself alone to be paid. No,
the browser will be a free even if there's a pro version of the app that does have some money, that has all those collaborative tools and functions in the background. And what was the website for Arc?
Arc.net. ARC.net. NET.
Right.
Yep.
Let me just put that arc.net.
Yep.
That is the website for the Arc browser, arc.net. And then Beeper was beeper.com.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Great.
Awesome.
All right. Well, listen, thanks everybody for checking us out and sticking around and watching or listening this week. We will be back next week with some more either tech news, discussions of apps or programs or platforms or wherever we decide to go next week. That's what we will do. And Brian, as I've been recording, luckily the room has cooled down in here a little bit. It's turned night. And, things are a little cooler here. So it's gone down like 4 degrees while I've been talking.
Nice.
Feeling a little better, but our AC is still not working. So
the glistening on your head has become slightly less obvious. So yeah, very nice.
All right. Good. Well, I'll go and plan for a nice, comfortable night of sleeping. So looking forward to that. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We will talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.